reading this piece was entertaining because I thought back to like 18 months ago when people were starting to really fret about some of the AI spend. And particularly in Meta's case, they were like, well, where does this go? How are you guys going to use AI? And this piece outlines like 8 different vectors where AI investment is going to be incredibly helpful for Meta moving forward. So it's just a fun rejoinder to where everybody was like a year and a half ago. And yes, it starts with the short term and generative AI in the advertising business. So take
Right.
me through
So
that aspect.
well, so we've talked about this in the past, but basically, the as AI as ads, I should say, are moving to this fully sort of black box automated experience. And this has been a long transition over time where, I remember, 14 years ago, one of my managers at Microsoft like pulled this stunt, or maybe it was, I don't remember how long ago, maybe 13 years, where he basically took out a custom ad for me so that I would make sure and you could like put in enough specificity where it was pretty guaranteed that I would see it, particularly if you sort of bid enough. But it was like you're just doing it basic sort of like demographic, targeting and focusing in cities or whatever it might be. And
What
theoretically,
was
you
he
shouldn't.
advertising to you back at Microsoft?
I don't remember what it was, but it was like you can't. The way it worked is they never want to make it so you can like target one person, but you can get it down to like a bucket of like 25 people, and if you
Okay.
spend enough, you can like guarantee that like all those people would see it. And so I don't even remember what it was, but it was very funny at the time. Just sort of the experience sort of stands out to me. But that was what most people think about targeting. That's, I think, it's stuck in a lot of people's minds. It's sort of like I want to target, a white male between the age of like 30 and 35 in the Seattle area who has interest in tech and blah blah blah.
The
Went
Milwaukee
to
Bucks too.
right,
Yeah.
whatever it might be. And it's interesting because if you get too specific, they'll stop you because it's like, look, this is only going to reach 10 people. That's too few people. And so
Yeah.
you do have to you had to pull out sort of variables to make sure that the bucket was large enough, for sort of, obvious reasons. But that over the last sort of 15 years, there's been a just a continuous transition away from that. And
Mm-hmm.
by and large, it moved away from you as an advertiser had a thought in your head about who your target audience was, and like Facebook would help you find it, to you have business objectives that you want to achieve. You want to sell this sort of item, or you want to get subscriptions to this service, or you want people to download this sort of app. And over time, it shifted to where you buy based on things that you want to happen. And this is like an evolution of the old, like part of the brilliance of the Google search model was, instead of it being display advertising where you pay per 1,000 impressions, you would pay per click. And so this was so attractive to an advertiser because once they've clicked, it's in your hands. They're on your website, and you have a chance to sort of secure them as a customer. And your sort of lifetime value calculation isn't like a sort of affiliate fee where it's a one-time thing and they don't even know who you are. It's, you can ideally develop something that is worth something in the long run. That's part of what made search advertising so valuable, is that customers, Google was thinking about and this was purposeful. Google was thinking about in terms of how much money can we get for one click. But an advertiser had a slightly orthogonal view where it's like, what's the lifetime value? What percentage of these clicks can we convert not just to one-time customers, but ideally long-time customers? They're on our site. We can retarget them with ads. If we get their email address, we can send them email marketing. If they buy something, and we can sort of develop this sort of capability. And it was more of a balance where these digital platforms came along and they gave new tools to sort of sophisticated marketers. Now,
Yes.
part of what makes Facebook sort of anti-fragile, a point that I've been making for a few years, is, and I think you see this happen with digital platforms, and a digital platform is a successful platform if it's creating companies that are only possible on that platform, and particularly in terms of advertising. Facebook has created tons and tons and tons of these sorts of companies. Amazon has as well. And all these companies that we sort of referenced it in the past, sort of source articles in various things in China, and then they figure out, what this pops on Amazon, I can sort of get traction here. And it's kind of a tough game, like in the Amazon experience, because eventually you're going to be paying up through ads, and Amazon might launch a direct competitor to you, and they're going to, get you on warehouse space and all these sorts of things. But
Right.
you can move on to the next one. And there's people who have made a lot of money sort of serially doing this, building these sort of products and brands on Amazon. It's a similar thing with Facebook. Like the entire app ecosystem in gaming and all this sort of stuff that we've talked about that was impacted by ATT. They were impacted by ATT because they were made possible by what ATT cut off, which was this sort of Facebook advertising model where you could directly match an ad on Facebook to not just a click, but a conversion. So Facebook would have an SDK in an app, right? And that would know who you, so if your phone has an ID number, the IDFA. Facebook knows, okay, we served this ad to this number. Then you go to the App Store, which is, Facebook's not a part of. You download the app, you go in, but the app knows what your IDFA is. So in the back end, they can match, oh, this person saw this ad, and now this app is on this person's phone. And Facebook could charge for that and charge a lot more than not just an impression, but a click, because it actually it got further down the funnel.
You're paying
it took them
a premium for advertising because that
a huge premium,
right.
A huge premium, right? And in the day of IDFA, you knew for sure what worked and what didn't. And so you could go to Facebook.
Would not have existed.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And so it'd be kind of galling because you'd go to Facebook and say, look, if I can get a user to install my app, I've modeled it, and I know that user is worth, say, $10 to me in lifetime value. They'll play the game for a while. They'll see a number of ads. We know they'll churn out after X amount of time. And this is all sort of like basic sort of marketing stuff you learn in business school, or it might be like running all these sorts of calculations. And so a user is worth $10. And so here's the deal. If that user is worth $10 to you, how much are you willing to pay Facebook to get that user?
I mean,
in a rational economic model, you're willing to pay $9.99 because that 1 cent is literally a cent. It wouldn't exist. And it's kind of, I use the word galling in my article because for a fact that Facebook is just taking, they're just extracting all your margin out from you. And yet at the end of the day, you would not have this customer without Facebook.
What is specifically galling is that there's the company that's creating a product that's worth $10 to a customer or whatever, or the customer is worth $10 to that company. That's the company that's creating something of social value, whereas Facebook is just sort of directing people to different products. And
that's not social value?
Well, it is, but is it 99% of the value of the product?
If you're a customer that got a game that you really enjoyed, or the joke I always have on Dithering with Gruber, he always buys belts from Instagram ads. If you got a belt that you really liked, you would not have known about that without Facebook.
Right.
And this is why I've always been now there's a lot about this article that's dystopian. I know we have some questions and comments about this, which we will get to. But one of the reasons I've always been more positive about Facebook advertising than about search advertising is so much of search advertising is skimming. It's just a straight up tax, because you would have been the first result, but because they put 6 results above it and let all your competitors bid for it, you also have to bid. And all that is doing.
It's a great point. And what is really galling and has been happening to me over and over again over the last year or so is I will search for a specific brand name on Amazon, and I'll then have to sift through 8 brands that have paid more for advertising at the top of the search results. And it's just what the hell are we doing here? I put in the name of the product that I'm looking for. And I guess
Amazon's ads are
modern life.
I've always said I should have written more about Amazon ads on the way up and all sort of things, because it's such an obvious thing. It was easy to predict. And yet there's a bit where, to me, they're the most distasteful. And it's kind of funny because Amazon ads are like the Apple blessed ad model, because Apple doesn't interfere with first party. It's all within their app. All the data is self-contained. So from the Apple privacy view of the world, Amazon ads are what they want to see in the world. And yet, to me, I find their social utility negative. They get in the way, to your point, of what you're trying to do. It's so blatantly a tax that is leveraging the fact that people go to the Amazon search box to find stuff. How often do I find things via an Amazon ad I wouldn't have found organically because I know exactly what I'm looking for? Almost never. I think the Amazon ads suck. And now there's a bit where the degree to which they suck is precisely why they are so profitable and why I should have written about them and predicted them coming, because it's such an obvious model that of course it was going to be succeed. And I honestly think this is a bit where my personal distaste sort of got in the way. And